So Anne, we start with you. So just tell us where you were born, who your parents were, and particularly your mother's side of the family, because the other way often when women get married, that surname gets lost. So tell us about, if you remember, who your grandparents were and all.
Yeah, well, I'm Anne Tyler, married to Tom Tyler here from Slieverue, and I'm probably aware of Slieverue since I was about 8 or 9, because my uncle and aunt lived here, and on my father's side I was a Kavanagh before I got married, and my uncle Nicky lived down in the new houses, as they were called, down the village. So I would have come up here visiting, come to Mass in Slieverue, and then come courting in Slieverue.
Where were you from then?
I was from Clune, in the parish of Kilmacow.
Okay.
I'm always reminded I'm only a blow-in by my good neighbour Alice. And so I would have been aware of Slieverue and around Slieverue since probably the middle 60s. And then I came to live, I got married.
How did you meet your... sorry, when you went to Kilmacow?
Oh, I'm a native of Kilmacow. And I lived in Clune, born in Clune, in the house in Clune.
And
so
what was that like?
I was the last of 10, so that was busy and first up, best dressed sort of thing. But we were all fed and watered, and
were they country people? Were they like
country
farmers?
people? My mother was a Desmond from Gosmills, and a proud Desmond woman, and my father was a Kavanagh from the Black Corner over by Bishop's Hall. So we moved from Gosmills. I was born in Clune. My brothers and sisters, a lot of them were born in Gosmills. And then we moved up to Clune, number 2. And
did you have a farm?
no, not at all. But we had a county council cottage with an acre of land. And I suppose the acre of land was to have people produce their own, because we certainly had vegetables and hens, and we actually had an ass and cart. And so we were very prosperous. And I lived there until 1975 I got married.
And what did your dad do?
My father was, he worked in Clover Meats. And
What section?
He was, I don't know really now, to be honest with you. But he hadn't great health, so I think he was on light enough duties. Because he died when I was very young. He died when I was 6. So...
So your mum was there for 10 children?
Well, at that stage, I was 6, so my oldest brother would have been gone out of the house as such. But there was the rest was 3 or 4 of us, probably under 13, 14. But her saying was, you got on with it. And she did.
And did she have a job?
Minding us.
I know, but after he died, did she?
No.
Okay.
No.
And how did she survive then?
With his pension. Fought hard for it, I suppose, but she got it anyway. But then some of my brothers and sisters, you went out to work then because you didn't go to school after that, because you needed to work at home, especially when your father was dead. But I never knew anything, only plenty, because I had plenty of brothers and sisters and plenty of friends. We were all the same, you know. It was a row of 12 cottages, so we were all big families and plenty of friends and plenty of fun.
And was it good being the youngest in the family?
Yeah, it was, but I had lots of extra mothers and fathers and bosses. That wasn't good. But yeah, I had a strong mother, you see, so a strong figure. But I didn't realise I lost my father until years after, when I got in with my in-laws and met my father-in-law. And he kind of slipped in there then, without my even knowing it, you know. But yeah, it was good, and it was lonely sometimes. But you had loads of brothers and sisters, and as I said, there were so many in all the houses that you had a friend in every house. And all my brothers and sisters had a friend in every house, because you were born like steps of stairs, really, you know, and there's 10 in the family. But it was good.
Okay. Alice, you're my postwoman.
I'm my postwoman, yeah. Originally, Carwin was my name. My father and mother. My father was from Glenmore, Maris Carwin, Rochestown and Glenmore. My mother would have been from Tullaher. She was originally Kate Murphy. And I had 4 brothers, and I was the youngest. And we lived in the Milepost beside Margaret Power's house. The house actually belonged to Margaret Power that we lived in. And got married then in 73.
And before you get married now, go back to your childhood, right?
Yeah,
So you were the youngest
I was the youngest.
you had 4 brothers.
4 brothers, yeah.
So you were really spoiled. Weren't you?
No, I was the demon of the family, apparently.
Still is.
I suppose I was to an extent, yeah, because the boys were that good bit older than me, like, you know. My oldest brother at the time was 16 years older than me, the oldest lad, and then Sean would have been, say, 14, and Tom then was about 11, and Morris was 6 when I was born. Yeah.
And then with the milepost, where did you go to school at?
I went to school in Slieverue, just down the road here in the old schoolhouse.
Okay.
And it's actually Daltons live there now with Kelly's. Minnie's mother had it first there, and then her daughter bought it, and she's married there now.
And did you walk up to school then?
We did, yeah. We came up the Rocky Lane, we used to call it, up through the briars. And up, and there, always outside the school up here at the time, there were 3 teachers there. Mr. Hurley, Miss Den, and Mrs. Morrissey.
I believe Miss Den's a tough woman.
Oh, she was, yeah. All you'd hear from was "Feig on bottle." And she'd lace the hands off you. Oh, yeah, she was a demon.
Feig on bottle.
Yeah, yeah.
And come here, what was milepost like at that stage?
My post was lovely there. Everyone was in there. The keys were left in the door. You had no fear of anyone walking in on you or anything like that. And there were no running water. You had to go down 3 fields to get spring water, you know, spring water for your tea and that. You had the barrels outside then for the washing. I remember it all, you know.
We were the same.
You know, so, you know, they were happy days, though. You know.
And then do you, as a child, do you remember going into Power's home?
Oh, I do, yeah.
What was it like?
Real old quaint, and it never changed up to the day, we'll say, Margaret got ill and died. Really, it was the same old pub as long as I could remember as a child. And mind you, she was the very same as well.
Your
She
mother
never
and
changed.
Margaret were good friends.
Oh, they were great friends, yeah. They were now, you know. There were 3 of them in it. There were Margaret, Alice and Eddie. Eddie was a professor down the college in Wexford. And Alice was married to a man from New Ross. You know, but they're all gone now.
And I believe it was a great pub for sing-songs.
Oh, brilliant, yeah, it was great now. As both pubs were now, there were Rockets there as well. You know, but I'd say Rockets, or Powers would have been more kind of a quaint old pub, really, you know what I mean? And she never had, say, pints or anything. It was small or large. If you went in looking for a pint of stout, that should be or a bottle of stout, small or large, she'd say to you. She was, you know, they were good days, yeah.
Did they serve spirits on us?
Oh, they served spirits all right, yeah. But there were no running,
No draft.
no draft like there.
And tell me, what did your parents do?
My father worked in Graves'. That's not even my dog now.
That's what I was going to say to get a good job.
No. And my father worked in Graves', and he was in the forge there. He actually worked with Anne's husband's grandfather.
Oh.
There, Paddy Tyler, yeah. They worked in the forge in Graves'.
And what did they do in the forge? What were the kind of jobs?
I don't know what they would have been doing, like, I'd say doing some kind of metal and steel things and that, you know, for the shop probably.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not sure really now.
Okay. And your mum, what did she was at home?
Well, she was at home then. Once they got married back then, they didn't really go out working, you know. But my father died then when I was 16, and my mother died actually when I was 29. And my father got a stroke, and he was paralysed down one side, and he lived for about 2 years after it, but he was bedbound like. And my mother then went into kidney failure. She was only 64 when she died. Yeah.
So that was tough enough for you, wasn't it?
Actually, it was now. It was sad times. You know, but there were good times in the milepost now.
And who was living around the milepost that time when you were small?
When I was young then, you had Michael O'Connor up at the top of the hill. Michael used to he had a farm, and he used to supply nearly everyone with turnips and spuds and the cabbage and everything, you know. He'd throw it in over the gate when he'd be passing. He was a great, great neighbour altogether. And then you had the O'Neills, and she was just an old woman that lived there on her own. She was always an old woman to us, like. And Mickey Griffin and Bill Connors were there, and the O'Brien family. they would have been there now, you know, when we were only children as well, like. And then you had Kathleen O'Brien's shop, which would have been right beside Rocket's pub. And you had the two pubs, and they were quite busy always, you know. Remember back in the day, at lunchtime, you'd see all the crowd coming up from Clover. They were able to drink and drive back then, you know, come up for their little cure, especially on a Monday. The cross below would be packed, yeah.
Is it at lunchtime?
At lunchtime, yeah, yeah.
In for a quick one.
In for a quick one, yeah. Although I'd say no, it was only up for a glass of water and a sandwich.
In the holy water.
I'd say so, yeah. You know.
Hey, come here. What was the relationship between Milepost and Slieverue at that stage? I mean, did you feel as if you were definitely Milepost? We're not Slieverue, we're Milepost.
Yeah, it was kind of, yeah, you were from the Milepost, like Slieverue was different. But yet you got on with everyone. It was only 5 minutes up the road, you know what I mean? Like, you know.
But you had your own identity.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
She still does. She reminds us frequently.
Yeah, you know, but yeah, you come up to Slieverue then, you know, back when I suppose when we came to an age, especially when you started in the vocational school below, you were starting to look at the boys and whatever, and Murphy's shop actually below in Slieverue then was the right gathering place for everyone, you know.
Okay, we'll get to the boys.
Yeah.
Katie,
Jumping again.
Yeah.
Katie, tell us what you're from.
I'm, unlike the girls, I'm from St. John's Park.
How did you end up in this neck of the woods?
Oh, my husband.
Love again.
I said I'd come out, I tried for 3 years, and then that was it. I was going back to town, but it didn't work. He wouldn't move, so I got stuck here, but I love
he's
it.
a local man.
He's a local man.
And
Michael Forristal.
How did you meet him there?
Sessions. Mick's a musician.
Alright.
So we're in Egan's, the sessions in Egan's on a Saturday night, and he in the back little back room. The memories. And we'd always have a right session in there, and met him there, and we used to go out to Dunmore and we used to pick up an elderly man, Ned Welsh. Ned played the fiddle, and we used to collect him and bring him off to all the sessions. And Mick had the car, so of course as many got into that car. Often there was about 7 or 8.
Or you could bring as many as you like that time.
my God.
No
It'd be-
safety belts.
Oh no, in the car, and off we go, and we'd always go back to Ned's house and have a session in Ned's house, and yeah, so those were the days. But
And were you a musician yourself?
not at all.
Okay.
No, a few drinks now I'd sing, but you'd have to have the little bit of a few drinks in.
And I didn't know that Egan's was associated with singing.
Oh yeah.
Like I thought more teen H's and all that kind of stuff.
Teen H is after that.
Right. Okay.
yeah.
So this is before.
This
teen
is
H's.
what I always went to Egan's. We didn't go to Teen H's. So Mick used to go to Teen H's. So then when we met him, then we all moved down to Teen H's for the sessions then. So then there were sessions, you could have a session every night of the week then.
And why were you interested in that music? Just as while you were young.
My grandparents were from Carrick and they were big into the music. They were fiddle players and box players. So they were big into the Irish music.
And
so.
who were they?
Maddens. You might know Jerry Madden.
Yeah.
Jerry would be a cousin of mine. So Jerry's big into the music as well. So they were all big into. Now my own family we never played anything, but the rest of them, yeah.
But you had a soft spot for.
Oh, I always had a soft spot for it. My mum
Irish
loved
music.
it. Oh, she loved the Irish music. Yeah, she was often seen tagging along with the sessions. Mick would come to collect me, and my mother would be sitting in the chair, and he'd say, my dad was a psychiatric nurse, so he used to work nights. And Mick would say to her, "You doing anything tonight, Mrs. Kelly?" "I'm not, Bash," she'd say. "Do you want to come with us?" Well, she'd be out of that chair, up that stairs, and she'd be down ready before I would. And I'd come down, I'd say, "See you, Mum." "Oh, I'm coming." She would, yeah.
Was she chaperone, Katie, I wonder?
Not at all, you must be joking. I'll tell you a good one though with her. We brought her out to Dunmore one night, and the Fury brothers were playing, and at that time Mr. and Mrs. Fury were alive at the time. And Finbar said, "I'm going to sing a song now," he said, "I wrote for my mother." And he started off the song, lovely song, getting right into it, and I could see my mother getting agitated beside me. I said, "You all right, Mum?" She said, "What's he singing?" I said, a song he wrote, he did it in me eyes. She said, and she joined in the chorus.
Had the way.
It's a song years old. Yeah, he nearly died. And of course, I was going to shut her up. Oh, well, ma'am.
So was your mother a madam then?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, blunt.
Blunt.
She was a blunt, or BLOUNT, as they say,
So
blunt.
her mother was
Her
madam?
mother was the Madden, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And she was from Carrick originally?
Carrick, yeah, they were all from Carrick.
And
Mammy
then
was
how did
from
she end up there in
Ballybricken.
Waterford?
She went nursing in England and met girls that she worked with and came home with them one year and stayed with them in Ballytruckle and met my father. They were his sisters. So they ended up together, then got married, and they went out. They got one of the first houses on the German Road in St. John's Park. So they were the first to move in on that road. And that's how we started out there.
And then when you met, well, where's we get on to talking about fellas now, like so.
Mick.
So you met him in EIGSE,
Yeah.
and then you got married at some stage, obviously, and then you moved. Did you move out here straight away?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Came out straight away. I was always Catherine till I came to Slieverue, and in Lyons' bar one night, Mick brought me out to introduce me to the friends, Marty Gann and all the lads were at the bar. And I walked in and he makes, this is Catherine, that's a mouthful, you're Katie from now on. And that was it, stuck. Never
So
Catherine here. I'm Catherine in town, I'm Katie here.
That's funny. And then what was your impression of the place?
Very quiet. I don't live in the village, I live down a lane, and poor Ned Foran would go up on his bike at 10 to 12, he'd go home for his lunch, and at 10 to 1 he'd go back up, and that was the only traffic you saw. I nearly went mental. The silence and the darkness in the night time, oh my God, I nearly went mental. So I told him, I'll give it 3 years now, Mick. I said, and if I can't, we're moving to town. So by the time the 3 years came around, I kind of was after settling, and I had Martin, the eldest young fella, and then the two girls, Trass and Kathy, came along, so that was it.
The silence was gone.
The silence was gone. It was gone. And then I met at a session Breathe Kennedy, and Breathe brought me up to a meeting in Slieverue for the play school, and I ended up, I think I started the next day volunteering, helping out with the play school, and then that was it. And then I met these ladies.
So it's interesting, like just the way you got involved in the community was just someone meeting in the pub and then
In that session,
roping
yeah.
you in
Yeah.
and then off you go.
Yeah.
And then
Started
you're part
off.
of the community there.
Yeah, myself and Stephanie Field and Stephanie, then we ended up doing the play school. It was in the school then, in one of the classrooms. And then they needed the classroom, so we were put out of the classroom and down into the hall. So we're in the hall for years. And then I finished, I left, and I went working out in the
College, right?
college, WIT, for a break from children. And sure, I was there, and then sure, I went back, and I'm back doing it again.
And was it a good place from, I mean, I know you're a blow-in and everything, but was it a good place to raise children then?
Oh yeah. Now they found it hard with say when they all went to play school and then on to school, which was when Trassa went to secondary school. She went to the Mercy. There was no secondary school here, so she went to the Mercy, and the friends all kind of split up. So that's why I got involved with the youth club, because for her to join a place to meet up with all her friends,
Yeah,
you know,
we'll
they
come
all
back to
got
you,
together.
We'll come back to you, club. So back to you, Anne.
Yeah.
So, when you were, how did you end up in this area then?
I ended up in this area then. I was very friendly now with a lot of people from Slieverue, and I suppose I ended up
No, it's St. David.
socialising with them to some extent.
Sorry, go on, keep going. Sorry, keep going.
So I ended up socialising, or, you know, meeting up. You know, when you're 13, 14, you'd meet. I knew a lot of people from Slieverue, mostly girls. And then I met Tom. I ended up marrying him. I met him at a dance up in Mullavat in 1972, July 1972. And I was all of 15.
Do you remember that night?
Do I remember it? I do.
Go on,
do.
tell us.
Well, I fancied him for a long time.
All right. Where'd you meet him? Where'd you see him
I
first?
saw him around the village when I was going to the tech, and I used to know there was two brothers, Kevin and Tom, And I didn't know what his name was. I didn't know if he was Kevin or Tom. But I knew which one I fancied when I saw him. Do you know what I mean? When I saw the other one, I knew it wasn't him. I found out it was Tom, but at the time he had a girlfriend, a blonde. Sure, I thought I had no chance. But then I did. I met him officially met him in Mundavat then in 1972, in July 1972.
So you were in the tech year in Slieverue.
Yeah.
And what was that like?
That was absolutely lovely. Absolutely.
Tell us
Because
about it.
I suppose it was a real welcoming place because we knew everybody. It was a kind of a country school because it was from Glenmore, Big Wood, our area, down Clone area. It was even a girl from Newras, Susan Halligan. Girls from Ferrybank, boys and girls. But it was, it was just like meeting up with your friends again. I'd hate to say it because especially if Jim Welcher's listening, but I didn't do an awful lot of studying. The poor man tried to teach me. But it was lovely. You never felt as though you didn't have a friend, or I don't think there was any such thing as bullying or picking on, or we didn't have to wear a uniform, so we wore what we wanted. And sometimes Miss Kern wasn't too impressed with my miniskirt, but I was well impressed with it, so I didn't mind. She did tell us that if we didn't lower our hems, she was going to tack newspaper. She was the home economics teacher. She did. She said she would tack newspaper all along the end of our skirts, and we would have to walk around all day with the newspaper tacked to our skirts. And our hair, then you had long hair, and it didn't matter. You hadn't all the products, so it was a bit wild at times. But she told us she'd tie it back with binder twine if she had to, and that's how we would walk around school all day. So we kind of reined it in a small bit. But she was like, that was the end of that lecture then, we didn't get that again. She was a good woman. They were all good teachers down there. I think they realised that we were a good bunch of youngsters, really, a few blackguards and that, but there was nothing ever major, ever, that I remember anyway. But it was a nice school, and most of the teachers I remember fondly, especially Mr. O'Callaghan. He taught us Irish. Maybe English as well, but Irish anyway, I remember him for, and he was just a gem. A gem.
It's funny because anyone we've spoken to has said very nice things about the tech.
Yeah, I couldn't say anything about the tech, only the fun I had there. And the teachers were great, and they did really try to teach us, and I presume we picked up something. A lot went on to do great things out of the tech, It was, I suppose it was a great loss to the area, but it would never have been big enough. But I suppose it could have been built onto too, but you don't think that far ahead sometimes.
And then, when you were in the tech then, is that where you saw this guy that you...
Yeah, I knew his sisters, you see, for years.
Oh, was he in the tech?
No, he was gone. Oh, he's years older than me. He's 4 years. He's 4 years older
Sugar
than me.
daddy.
He's 4 years older than me, so he was gone out of the tech. And so then I met him at a dance in Mundavat.
Okay.
We fell in and fell out and fell in
How
love.
did you get rid of the other one at that stage then?
Oh, she was gone. I think that's the only... Anyway, she was gone, and she was a lovely girl. I knew her now. She was a lovely girl. Knew her well, know her still. But I didn't think I had a hope, because, when he was that much older than me, and I was only hoping against hope. But it worked anyway. He's still there somewhere.
And then, when you got married, did you move up to this area?
Oh, I did, yeah. We lived in a caravan on my parents-in-law's front yard, up at number 10 near Mount Slieverue. And we built a house just next door across here to Alice, living next door to Alice. And his dad helped him build a house. His dad was a carpenter. Lord rest his soul, Tom Tyler Senior. He is a carpenter. And all the lads had a bit of a trade. So Tom was an electrician, he did that bit. And Kevin, his brother Kevin, that I didn't know the difference with, he is a plumber, so he did all that work. So they did that with most of the houses that were built. They all helped out. And Tom Senior was the architect probably, and the carpenter, and he turned his hands to most things. And we had 4 children, 3 girls and a boy, and 6 grandchildren since then. So it was a good union.
Okay. And so again...
But I loved coming to live in Slieverue, because at that stage I knew I was coming up since 1972. We'll say, coming up to visit up to Tyler's and meet Tom and his family. And I just felt part of Slieverue from 1972 on, to be honest. It was, I got into the community and loved it. And the children started going to school, and it's a whole new, you meet a different group of people. And then in 1983, we started the playgroup, Alice and myself and a group of Anne Morrissey and, another group. We started up the playgroup. So then you're there, you're in then, And it was all about your children and the community and getting involved in stuff, It was all about that. For me, anyway, it was then. Of course, I was socialised as well in Lyons mostly at that stage because Stapleton's was mostly kind of a man's pub. There weren't any facilities for ladies. So we all went to Lyons's.
And was that when Lyons's was very kind of it was kind of fairly lively spot, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. There was music there. We used to come from Clown. It was only about 3 miles was it down the road from Clown. But we walked up, myself and my sister Breatha. We walked up, and our friends, we walked up, we hitched lifts off our brothers and all that to come up to Lyons's to the music. The bands came out from town, Don Doug and all those. And I think there was even music on a Wednesday night. And a bus used to come from Waterford to bring people out. You paid going in on the door, and we had a ball. We sat on crates. The rain came in on us. We didn't care. We loved it, Kathleen and Billy, and we loved it. It was great now. And that was another part of Slieverue that I loved, because while I was going out with Tom, you'd be there with your friends, or you'd make more friends. And a lot of women came out from town. And I still know them and still friends with them, so Lyons was a hub, and you could have more fun down there, more fun than I ever had in any pub, because it wasn't like anything goes, but it was in another way, but there was never any danger as such, because Kathleen saw to it that if you were out of order, you were out of the pub, and that was it, and you didn't argue with her. But she was a good woman, because she looked after the soccer club as well. My husband was involved with the soccer club now, and Kathleen was good to us, she was good to the club, and maybe sponsor a trophy or sponsor the gear, and she was good to us. Very generous woman, very generous. But yeah, so I felt at home in Slieverue, even though I'd kind of say I'm a Kilmacow woman. I felt at home in Slieverue always. Okay. Always.
And Alison, when you got, we say, into from primary school, did you go into tech?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was that like? Was that, the primary school was quite strict, wasn't it?
Oh, very strict.
And then going into tech, what was that like?
Yeah, it was completely different change altogether, because you were afraid to turn sideways in the primary, But the tech was, I'd say, very laid back. Even if Jim Welch couldn't get through to you, he'd say, oh, poor Ireland. He knew he had the last cause in me anyway, I think. No, there were good days though, you know what I mean? And I used to love the domestic science and the sewn and all that, the craft thing. That was I really enjoyed them classes.
Was Miss Curran your teacher then, Alice?
Miss Curran was there then, yeah. And then there was another man then, he used to teach technical drawing, and actually Miss Curran and Tommy Wicken got married.
Oh, yeah.
And they're actually living in Wexford. And they're still going strong, because I was away last week and we got a taxi down from the airport, and lo and behold, the man that was driving it was living right beside them.
Very good.
And we were chatting away, coming down about them, And he was asking what were they like as teachers in the school, So we had a great old laugh, coming down it, But no, there were good days.
Okay,
there were
and
good
then
days.
again, similar, your memory of that time, what was it like in Slieverue at that time?
Well, you weren't afraid to be out around or whatever, even though you had to be home at a proper time before dark or that. Now, when you started going to tech, you got that little bit of freedom, we'll say. But you had to be down home, I know I did anyway, before at 9:30 or 10 o'clock at the latest, And if you didn't, your mother was coming up to meet you. I know mine was anyway, Because I suppose maybe being the only girl then, and the boys didn't been much older, she always had that old fear, I suppose.
And were you part of that whole going to the Lyons' and all?
Oh God, yeah, they were great days. And Simon, all the the groups in Waterford at the time, and we're all playing there, and Kathleen's mother actually used to do the door, and if you went in 5 minutes to closing time, you wouldn't get in past the door, you still have to pay.
And if you went in
remember
early,
that?
she come down after you.
Oh yeah, you wouldn't get in at any stage, you know.
Oh, no.
But it was a well-run ship down there now, really, you know what I mean? Good old cracks. Then they started the discos after the bands there back then, and Eddie Cody used to do the discos back there then. And they were good times, yeah. Yeah. And usually then, you know, the older men would be in the bar. They wouldn't come into the lounge now where us younger crowd used to be at the time, you know. But, you know, they were good.
And can you remember at that time, like, any of the old characters around the area?
Yeah, well, sure, back then now, like, yeah, I suppose, like Katie said, you had, say, Ned Ford and you had Jimmy Dower now on the Mile Post in particular, like, you know what I mean, and Tommy Neal and Sonny Purcell. And, you know,
Sonny,
yeah.
I can you tell me any yarns about him?
I couldn't really now, because at that stage, I suppose, when they were older, we wouldn't have been allowed into the pub.
Yeah.
Like, when we came to, I suppose, about 14, 15, and you'd be hanging around Kathleen O'Brien's shop in the Mile Post, Katie Rocket then left us come into the little snug she had at the side. But, you know, you get a bottle of Jaffor in your bag of crisp. If you made noise, then you got thrown out. You know, you had to be very quiet with her. Katie was strict, like. But she was great now. She used to leave us in. She was great now, because we were underage, you know what I mean? But we were left in there, but there was no way now you'd even look for a drink or anything at that stage, like. You know, we were young, like. But she left us in there not to have us hanging around, like.
And when you were young, Alice, would you go into Waterford much?
No.
No.
I suppose when we started then, like, you had the Ardrey Hotel at that time, and you know the
bridge,
you used to go down along the Barrow Bridge and go across the bridge over onto Camp Isle there, Great Island. But you'd be terrified now, wouldn't you? Now certainly looking down.
Well, you just go across the railway bridge.
Yeah. But no, you had the discos then, not even the discos, like you had the bands playing inside in the Olympia, and when we started we used to go in there and you'd see all the big bands, like. And then when Jury started we used to go there, like, and then eventually I suppose the discos were introduced back then after the band had played for an hour or so maybe, you know. But I know they were good happy days, they were now.
And then with the school, with the tech, can you remember any of the kind of the social things that you did in school?
Well, every Christmas now we had the school party, which was great, and that would have been the only social.
Yeah, we
thing
used to have
on
a school
it.
party.
Yeah, we did the school party
You
at
should have been in
Christmas.
school or anything.
We did that in the primary.
We did that in the primary, yeah. And no, we done the school party now. There weren't even a sports day when we finished up in the tech. Sure, they weren't, Dan. I can't remember anyway.
I do remember going to Kilkenny one time with the group from the tech, and Maxie MacDonald from Ferristal, Lord rest his soul, he was running, and sure we were all shouting. Sure, Maxie was after lapping everyone.
Yeah,
we thought he was finished.
Anne had been younger than me, like, you know, so it might have been introduced then, like.
And come here, where did you hang out in Slieverue with like teenagers? Where did you go?
Murphy Shop.
Murphy Shop.
Yeah.
What was it like then last
Ah, it was brilliant. It's a real old quaint shop, like, on the house, you know. And Mary was brilliant. Mary fed everyone, I'd say, in the parish. She used to look after more people, God. She was a brilliant woman.
It was like a drop-in centre, Murphy's shop.
It was great.
They never minded us hanging around or chatting.
And they never sold the papers. Then you went to Griffin's shop here in the corner then for the paper.
Oh.
You know, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Murphy never sold the papers, you know.
And then, okay, so let's go right up to the youth club, because that's where the three of you came together, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we would have known one another well before that, like, even, you know, because actually Katie's married to my cousin, you know.
That's the only
Few
reason
removed
she's
now, but it's the only way she's left in here. I'm only joking. Yeah, we all got involved in the youth club. There were 13 members back then when we started off.
So I suppose you were
13
all
leaders.
parents, and there was a lot of young people around.
Yeah.
there.
Around this actual area there was a lot. Airmount Village, Katie's area, down in Kilmorey, Giles Key, you know, there was a lot of young people with very little to do.
Nothing to do, sure.
But it actually stemmed from, I was just saying to Catherine there earlier, it stemmed from a parish assembly we had You know, it was a regular thing. People, anyone that was interested in doing stuff in the parish would go to a meeting, and you know, things were thrown out. We got I think a little questionnaire was handed out, and you ticked off what you might be interested in. And I suppose like-minded parishioners ticked the same, and about 13 of us showed up to maybe more showed up to a youth, like to look after the youth and the hall and that sort of thing. So it stemmed from that really. And then we started off with 13 leaders, 10 women, Alice said, and 3 men, isn't that right?
3 men, and 10 women. And unfortunately, 2 of our leaders that were with us passed away since Nicola died in 2011. And Pat just died there in March this year.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we lost 2 of her.
And that whole thing of going from being a parent to a youth club leader is kind of tricky a bit, because it's like your own kids will be in there somewhere.
Yes, there were.
Yeah.
And like that's kind of tricky, isn't it? That
Well, the only thing I wasn't allowed to do, I was allowed to go to the discos.
that's what
I
they
was
said.
banned. I was banned from the discos.
Okay. But you could do anything else.
Anything else, I was grand there every Friday night or anywhere we were going. That was grand, but not the
You
discos.
cramped their style.
I cramped their style for the discos.
Yeah. It was a great youth club, like,
It was,
really.
yeah,
and
but
truly,
I
like,
also
you know.
think the fact that there wasn't, like there had been a youth club just before that, another lady, Stephanie Phelan, and again Nicola Connell that we mentioned, Alice mentioned earlier, they had a youth club going in Father Delaney's time, so that would have been back in the 80s, early 80s and on, and you know, that then it stopped, you know, for lack of leaders probably or something like that. So the youth were ripe for some place to go.
And I suppose
so
back
they
then,
didn't mind.
Father Delaney was fantastic with them, wasn't
Yeah,
he?
he was,
You know,
yeah,
the
he
priest
loved it,
then, he was very involved, and he was a great man with the youth.
But,
It was a great time for him, wasn't it?
Yeah, but what I was saying was that there was nothing then for the youth once Stephanie and Nicola, and I think there was another girl, Anna somebody. Maybe.
Anna Murphy.
Murphy, yes. So, you know, once that dwindled a bit, our gangs there was a gang of our youths, I mean our children, and they were ripe for something, do you know? And it was the right time for us. And having such 13 adults involved, like, was absolutely brilliant, because you had a lot of energy then, and you had a lot of ideas and manpower. And our youth, my son certainly didn't mind whether I was there or not, because he was just glad of some place to go and be with his mates. And I'd say Alice's son Benny was the same. They were, you know, and they were good youngsters. They were all local, and they just needed some place to go.
And so what kind of things did you try out?
Okay, so what did we start off with?
But the first year we were there, and we decided we were heard about the mini tops.
Oh,
It's
the mini
it's a
tops.
competition. So you had go on the dance, the comedy, the drama, solo singing, and it was run in Kilkenny. So we decided we'd do it. But what we were kind of, who would we get to teach them to dance? So none of the boys would go into the dance, no way. So I knew Michelle
Glendon.
I knew her, so I rang her to see would she do it, and she said no, but I'll send out Pat Grant. She said he might do it. So Nicola rang Pat Grant, and Pat came out and he said, now when is this competition next week? He went, what?
This was the Monday,
Next
Kate.
week.
It
This
was
was
on
the Monday,
Sunday.
it was on
yeah.
Sunday. So he, fair play to him, he came out and he got the girls together and did simple dance, looking back on it now. But off they went, they were outside the hall in Kilkenny, and they practicing before they went on, and they went on and they won it. And they were
it was a team show, wasn't it,
thrilled.
Katie?
Yeah,
A piece.
they were absolutely thrilled. So that was the start of it. So the following year, when it came to mini tops, the boys still wouldn't go into it.
They weren't great. They wouldn't go into the dance.
No. So we got Pat to drama then and comedy as well. So the boys know. So Alice's son, they kind of all looked up to Benny. Benny had that real outgoing personality.
Yeah, full of fun.
So we said, right, so we gave him a banner and he'd come out, applause, and come back and applause. And who was the other chap?
Patrick O'Keefe.
Patrick O'Keefe. So went in, got to the mini tops this year anyway, and here's Benny coming out with applause, and sure he got a great reaction. Sure he was in and out and in and out.
Even when there shouldn't have been
He
applause,
shouldn't have been applause, and he was out. So the following year he was the first to go into the mini tops. Yeah, I'll go in, and all the boys then joined in.
Yeah.
Sure, we won more trophies and.
Yeah.
I don't think there was a
Unbelievable.
year
Every
they
year,
didn't. And this year, they're in it again this year for the performance. Eva Doherty and Eva Carroll, they're doing the performance. It's a dance. It's about bullying. It's absolute. They're brilliant.
Brilliant, yeah.
And Sophie Lee is doing the solo singing. So they're up in Limerick now on the 1st of July. They got through.
So, when did you get involved with Tree?
We all got involved at the same time. We
When it
started up
started
the
off.
club in 1998 or 99. I feel
It was the 7th of May, the first night anyway. I remember
Yeah.
it was Mick's birthday.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we started it up then and
Done the courses.
oh yeah, that's right. We were
We'd
we
get Garda
had
clearance and all
Yeah.
that, yeah.
There was Austria Youth, and who was the other one?
Froiga.
Oh, Froiga, yeah. We were kind of, who will
So
we
you
go
all had to
with?
get training there.
Oh, yeah. And you had to get Garda clearance and that,
2 or 3 official trainers came down from Austria Youth actually, down to Slieverue Hall every Monday night, I think it was, for maybe about 6 or 8 weeks. And the 13 of us met there with those, and they brought us up to date on everything that was needed and should be done and how it should be done to, to safeguard the children, the youngsters and ourselves. And we've been doing courses,
Child
updating
protection
courses
and all that,
since, for all those years. We do a bit of refresher and all that.
And what was that like at the start? Was that kind of a bit daunting at the start?
No, I never felt daunted by it. Well, there was always strong people, you see, that would get involved and do stuff, and we took it all on together. We were a right old bunch, the 13 of us
They
kind
were
of stuck
lovely, the
together.
ones that did the course with us.
Oh
right?
yeah,
They
the
were
lead,
really
the
down
people that
to
came
earth.
down from Kilkenny kind of told, like, they had youth clubs up and running and they told us like it was, but we were full of enthusiasm for it, so therefore nothing was, and there was such a crowd of us in it that we were well able for anything that came on, someone would handle it. We kind of felt confident in each other. Well, I certainly felt confident in the rest of the leaders anyway.
And how did it work? Was it just one night a week or was it a couple of nights a week?
We held a meeting of any youth that were interested, and we filled the room below in the parish centre, the old tech, the parish centre, and we kind of laid it out to them when they'd like to meet or what night would suit them, and they picked a Friday night at 8 o'clock, and that's what it's been ever since. We were thinking we wouldn't have disgruntled parents, you see, if we weren't on a school night, and they wanted Friday night, so we were willing to go up our Friday nights. But we used to often have to say to them, look, as we give up this Friday night for you now, come on, do you know? But I suppose the way I used to look at it was, you're a parent, you have to take care of your children. The teachers, they have to do it. But we were volunteering, and at least they saw adults in that light. Maybe you'd hope that they saw that these are here for us, not for anything else. Even though we got more out of it at times, we got an awful lot out of it. Just
They
to
were
be
great
involved,
bunch, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, but even still, I meet people and they say, well, Anne, how's it going? But for the youth club, I wouldn't know them and they wouldn't know me.
No, it's just the way again.
They're men and women now, you know.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
The only downside of it is when you had children in play school and they turn up at the youth club and you're going, what? Could you get that age? I remember I said to one of the girls, I said, don't you tell anybody here I had you in play school. I mean it, I said, no, don't tell anybody. And she told everyone. So I routed them out and she came up the following Friday night and had all the photographs of when she was in play school and I had them all up on the wall. And she ran and she nearly died. She whipping at them. I said, no, you won't tell anyone again.
yeah.
So you must have met loads of children.
Oh, loads.
Unbelievable.
We reckon a couple of hundred went through, really, don't we?
I'd
Easily.
say 300 or 400 at least, because in that length of time you'd have 30 every year probably, and maybe more, maybe 40. Now it's dwindled a bit because there's other, other attractions, all the phones and screens, and at a drop of a hat they could have someplace else to go, a text, and everything changes. But when we were in our heyday, we had up to 40 members every year. We had a cut-off point. And the majority were from Slieverue and the Slieverue area. Absolutely.
You'd see him, do you remember when we'd gone off to a disco? We were lucky. Jim Morrissey had he was in the army, so he had a driver for the bus, so he was able to drive the bus anytime we were going anywhere, so it helped with the costs. And they'd be going to the disco, and we only found out years later they'd come down the road. But that's not what they went to the disco in. The dresses they used to change over the tech wall, and they come down to us, and they'd be. And you said, "Did your mother leave you out like that, chair?" Well, if your mother left you out like that, that's fine.
So you ran your own disco?
Oh, we did at times.
We did at times, yeah. Every U club did, you know, when you went visiting to each clubs, like from time to time, Glenmore, Kilmacow, Monkine, you know.
So you have a disco in each place?
Yeah,
you
maybe.
Like a rota, kind of.
Yeah, maybe it could be one for Valentine's, Easter,
Halloween.
Christmas, Halloween. They'd be the 4 main times, really, you know.
Yeah.
But there was a youth club back in the day now when I was young. And Jimmy Gyrey actually was our youth leader. That was back mid-60s. And Eddie Hartley, you know.
Local men.
And 2 local men. And the priest was always down with us at the time. It was Father O'Dwyer. And he didn't like him mixing with the boys now. So there'd be a load of young ones then pushed into his car going home. You'd be dropped at your own house, you know. He had an awful fear of that for some reason. He didn't want any shenanigans.
He didn't want any rum.
No. But there were good old times now too. We used to actually be playing bingo below.
Yeah.
And playing cards and, you know,
But there was a history
like
of
the
youth.
games like were only kind of Ludo or drafts and, you know. But it was a nice get together. That used to only go on for an hour and a half back then. You know. And you'd always end up then at the end of the night with a little hop. And I don't know who someone used to be there now. Maybe it could have been Ned Hartley playing the accordion. And that's what you done your little hop to. Yeah.
I said that was lovely.
Yeah. But it was back then, and
That's
you're
what I'm
so
saying, I
delighted
never
to
had
go.
like that.
Yeah. They were good old days.
And with the youth club that you ran, what other things, you mentioned the tops, what other things did you take part in?
We brought him to Medjugorje. We were in Medjugorje twice with the group. We went up to Father Mark. Condon. We used to go up to Kilkenny, up to meet in Kilkenny with another group from Ossory. And they used to have to go up every Friday night, and we met in the church, the cathedral in Kilkenny, and they'd go through all that we were going to go through out there. And so we brought the first lot out, and they absolutely loved it. And even getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to climb the mountains, not a bother. They were brilliant. They really loved it out there. So with the result, when we came back, then we had to start off again, then fundraising for the next lot to bring them back out again, another crowd. But it was brilliant. They climbed Croke. We went to Croke Patrick.
We went to that.
We brought a group there, and there was 4 lads. I can remember Jonathan Roach and
Bill Irish.
I don't know who the other 2 were.
I didn't.
And they came over to us, and they were kind of looking at the elderly, you know, taking off their shoes and socks. There was so much they do, and we're saying, well, some people do it in their bare feet. They said, can we do it in our bare feet? We kind of, well, you can, but you have to bring your shoes with you, just in case halfway up you decide. No, they did the whole thing up to the top in their bare feet. And there's a tiny little church at the top, and Father Mark was after getting special permission for us to have a mass there. So we were having the mass, but there was a gale force wind blowing the door. So I was up against the door like this, trying to hold this door. But of course, the people are trying to come in. So Father Mark is saying mass, and this is me. This door is going the whole way through mass. I was bruised all down my back by the time we came back down. But it was brilliant.
And can you all this kind of, you know, when you mentioned Medjugorje and Croke Patrick, I mean, were the young people very religious, or was it just kind of more of an adventure? Or what?
More of an adventure. We went to other places now. We brought them to Oakwood, over on the bus to Oakwood.
You went there a good bit,
Oh, we
didn't
went
you?
a lot of times to Oakwood. And the reason you went there was it's so safe. It's in the middle of no place. So the bus dropped you, and you went in. They couldn't go anywhere. So all you had to say to them was, right, lads, we're going to meet at 1:30. And the first group I remember we went with, and they said, what do you mean? I said, we'll meet at the shop at 1:30. And they're all standing. I said, off you go. And they're going, what do you mean? I said, go do what you want to do. Go on all the rides you want to go on. do we not have to stay with you? I said, no. It's your day. I said, off with you. I'll meet you here at 1:30. And every one of them were sitting there when I came back. I couldn't believe it. And they said, now what do we do? Now I know you're all safe. I said, off you go again. We'll meet back at 5:00. But they had a ball.
Katie, did we print T-shirts for them that year?
Yeah.
We did, yeah.
So they'd all have a
They were all
Slieverue
bright yellow.
Yellow, bright yellow, so you could spot them.
So we could spot them. Yeah.
Father
Oh,
Mark would have been local here now.
Oh, he was a,
He's a local
He's
man,
living down in
priest.
Bandamona. He became a priest. You know, he's only a young chap as well now.
Yeah, there's another priest getting ordained
Yeah.
this week.
Yeah.
Like,
Liam O'Donovan,
there's
yeah.
kind of a traditional here, is there, for...
that'll be the third
Well, that'll be,
priest from
that'll be the
Slieverue
third
in
one now, you know.
recent
Brian Griffin and the Mile Post as well.
Yeah.
So,
So,
We also brought him now on bus excursions. Where to went to the
Trabalgan.
zoo. We went to
We
Trabalgan.
did. We
You
brought
know,
him camping.
Camp. Oh
Remember
yeah,
camping?
yeah, the camping.
Or Jim Morrissey, you know, a farmer with a
Up
field.
in Mulnavat.
And he asked him, could we go? So he said, yeah,
Never
no
forget
bother.
that.
Oh. We were in a field and there was a stream running beside, and it was a very small stream when we got there, but it rained. Oh my God. Putting up
Not
these
nice.
tents in the rain, I'll never forget it. But Jim had the rest of them doing trekking up Tory Hill.
Tory Hill.
He gave him a map. For weeks beforehand, he had him down the hall and he was doing map reading and orientation. And then they had to pick out of a hat the way they had to go. And he literally brought him by bus and dropped him in the middle of the road. They went that way, they went that way, and they went that way. I was a nervous wreck. I thought they'd never get to us. And we went off and put up the tents. It lashed. By the time the lads got there was a river beside us. They all jumped in. They were drowned. I'll never forget it. But we had some laugh.
Who built something to get across it, Katie? Paul Rocket, was it?
Paul
Paul
Rocket.
Rocket built with
All went swimming in it.
a rope. He found a rope and twigs and branches, and he built like a little bridge going across. And then, of course, the rope turned into a swing.
Yeah, and the leaders were sleeping in tents as well. But Jim, our leader,
Our soldier.
our soldier, our interior, went up and he slept in a brand new horse box in out of the weather.
Oh, he never got
You never heard the end of that, I'll tell you.
Oh, we gave
Poor
him
Mick
down
was,
the banks.
Mick was the chef.
So Pat, Lord Mercy, and poor Pat and myself then done the cooking here, and we pre-cooked a lot of the burgers and stuff and brought it up. Well, I'll never forget the boreen going into it. And now I got the car back out. It was muck and gutter.
Drones.
It was a great night though, wasn't it,
Oh,
Katie?
brilliant.
And can
Yeah.
you tell us then, you said at the start it was 13 leaders. Can you tell us some of the names of the people who were involved?
Well, yeah, Chris Finnegan, Jim Morrissey and Mick Burke, they were the three men.
That's right.
Then there was us three here, and then Anne's daughter Laura, and Eilish Summers, Adele Keating, Kathleen Phelan, Adele Hart, Pat, Nicola. Who else, Anne?
Summers.
Yes, it her.
What's Pat and Nicholas second?
Pat would have been Pat Mulligan, and Nicola was Nicola Connell. Yeah.
I think
Pat
that's...
would have only lived down the road. Nicola's only just a little bit over this way. Nicola died in 2011, and Pat passed away there the 13th of March this year.
Myself and Nicholas shared the tent camping the night.
Yeah.
And can you know when we do these kind of chats with older people, not
Much
children,
older than
Much
us.
older.
we sometimes ask them about old stuff like that you've heard from your granny or stuff like that. Have you any of those stories about, like, whether it be the fairies or the banshees or anything like that? Have you ever heard anything like that out this area? Is there anything out this area?
Oh, they said the banshee is down Kilmurray Lane. So they told me anyway.
We should stay down there.
I
Oh yeah,
know,
around the
yeah.
castle down
Yeah,
there, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah, it's supposed to be an old
Yeah.
castle.
It's
There's
supposed to be a particular place.
Yeah.
There's an old castle down there. And they say every now and again she turns up. No, thank not, and I don't want to see her now. She could visit anyone else.
Have you ever heard, is there fairy forts or anything like that kind of stuff around the area?
I don't know of any fairy forts.
Okay.
I don't think
No, it's
so,
just
no.
interesting because it's like, I suppose a lot of these stories exist before electricity came.
Yeah.
And then
Oh, yeah.
electricity came, they tend to go out and they go away.
Oh God, yeah, I remember going back, having the candle, going up to bed, even going back in the
Oh,
post
yeah, we
long
had
ago. Yeah. Katie
we-
wouldn't know nothing about that. She was a townie.
Yeah, I remember as a child we had no
Yeah.
water in the house and no
Yeah.
electricity.
Well,
But you didn't know any different. You know, it just wasn't. But I do remember it actually coming. You know, the ESB coming
You were so
and Waterford.
excited with it, weren't you?
Great
How much
excitement.
of a change did it make? Do you
We
remember?
had a huge change in that. Again, we didn't have an electric cooker, but there was, you know, there was less hardship on, I suppose, the parents, the mother, you know. But we had barrels, like Alice said, and we had a stream up the road, and we had a pump, and you went and got it. But after that, then you just turned the tap shut. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
Switch on the light. I remember coming home from school one day, and the manhole into the attic, there was 2 legs down. And the electrician was coming down out of the attic after putting, you know, wearing his name was Davy Murphy, he's passed on now. He worked with ESB, and it was just, he got down, switched the switch. It was like, I suppose it was probably 60, my father died in 63, so I say it was 64, 65. And it was just like magic, really, you know. You knew it, you might have seen it in somebody else's house, but we didn't have it, I didn't have it. And from that then, my mother didn't iron with the iron that you put the peat into the fire and put it in. She had a plug-in iron. Do you know, that sort of thing? We didn't have an electric cooker. We always had a gas cooker. She probably relied more on the gas than the electricity. But she wouldn't have bought an electric cooker then because she had a gas cooker. So why would you put more expense on yourself? But yeah, I do remember it coming. But as regards ghosts and banshees, my mother always claimed you'd never meet anyone worse than yourself. She had no interest in ghosts. And she used to say to us, we'd walk to Slieverue, as I said earlier, and there was a kind of a story about down in Callaspy there was an old house and it was supposed to be haunted. And we used to get nervous passing it, you know, and we'd say, what if we're passing up by Evans's? And she'd say, you'd be afraid of a ghost and you wouldn't be afraid of a man. So, like, that was her answer to it. There was no ghost. So I never really had a fear of supernatural or the unnatural. Or I'd like to meet the fairies. I'd like that, all right. But
you're some fail.
I'm not sure about Casey's banshee. I don't think I'd like to meet that.
And Alice, do you remember electricity and all that?
Oh God, I do, yeah.
Well, tell us what was it like beforehand. And then
Beforehand, but you see, didn't know any better then, really, because none of the houses down the post at the time would have had it. I even remember Market Powers now with the little tilly lamp and the aisle, you know, lighting in the
We
bar,
had an
like,
aisle
you know
lamp
what I mean? And we had one of them in the kitchen, but you had the candle going up to bed, like,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And they were happy days, though, really, like, you know what I mean? You'd be trying to read your comic, Dandy and Beano, with the candlelight, you know, really, you know? But when the electricity came then, my God, you saw the difference.
Oh, you did, yeah.
It was brilliant, you know, you had light. And then, like, I remember the time President Kennedy came to New Ross, and we were after getting the telly inside an RTV Rentals at the time. And, you know, I think there were a crowd below in the milepost and we all watching President Kennedy's visit, like, you know, little black and white, you'd only RTE1, that was it, like, just RTE and that was it.
Was that in your house, Alice?
Yeah, yeah, it was actually, my brother got it at the time, rented it, so.
And
you
did you
know.
rent it for that, or you
No,
just had it
yeah,
anyway?
we just wanted to, actually, and back then my father was mad to get it, like, you know
Oh,
what I
no,
mean?
yeah.
And to see that, like, because my mother went down there, actually, a neighbour brought her down, Sheila Conley, and they went down to see him, you know, arriving.
Did you see him?
Yeah,
Did you want to see him?
yeah, yeah,
Oh, my
yeah.
goodness.
So went down to see him with
I'd love to have
Sheila.
seen him.
That was 1963.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And do you remember when he died? When he got killed?
I do.
Yeah.
And do you remember what was like the atmosphere at that time?
Oh my God, it was very sombre altogether. You know, everyone was killed over him, really. Because the fact, I suppose, he had been here, I think it was the same year, wasn't it? Yeah, that
was
November.
November,
Yeah. You know, the fact that he'd been here a few months previous and this. Oh yeah, they were shedding tears over him and everything. You know, it was now a nostalgic time, really.
I suppose people saw him as kind of an Irish.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And then, you know, with the Kennedy homestead down the road as well, only from there and that, you know. There were good times, I suppose. good and sad.
And any other big occasions that you can remember when you were growing up that were kind of interesting? You know, from a historical point of view, do you remember any other big thing that happened when you were young that kind of stands out in your head? What kind of things?
I suppose the only things you'd be looking at, you know, when you were lucky enough, I suppose, to get the old telly and to be only on for the few hours back then. Shouldn't might come on until 6 o'clock in the evening then. Charles Mitchell was the newsreader at the time. And I suppose when royalty got married, you know what I mean? And that'd be televised, like on the old telly and things like that.
I think I remember
You know,
the Princess Grace.
You know, yeah.
Grace Kelly getting married. I think I remember something about that.
You know, but other than that, nothing really local as such now. You know.
So Charles Mitchell, my poor aunt, she lived out in the middle of Fenner. And when she came to live with me with Granny and Granddad, and she came up to the house one day, and Charles Mitchell was doing the nails, and she was sitting there. She was pictured, and she was looking at me. "You dirty old bastard!" She said, "Stop looking up me skirt. You're an awful dirty old man."
She thought he could see her.
She thought he could see her.
Back away.
Poor
Back
Auntie
away.
Bridget. And anytime I hear his name, that's all comes into my head.
But too long ago then, down under Lyons is there, in here at the left where Ashgrove houses are now. And you had the circus used to come there every now and again. But then once a year then, they had a kind of a feat there, sports, and then they'd be dancing. You'd be going up when we were young, looking at her. I always remember Anne Crowe and Benny Kiley and the lovely dresses they used to have them on. They'd be going in, we'd be there just looking because we were too young, like, to be going, you know. But you'd be going up to see those girls going into the dance in the hall below back then. After they used to go on, I think, for about 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah.
Really?
And actually, Pat's father then did have a spinner down there, down in the field at the time, yeah. And Pat's father used to look after that, you know, Pat Mulligan's father.
Oh,
There used to be a great
Yeah,
Christmas.
and then
Isn't
they
it?
had the
That's
Christmas
still-
bazaars in the hall.
Yeah,
And they used to go on for
great.
2 weekends.
did they have?
They did, yeah. They'd have the spinner in the period, and then they'd have the produce stall, and then they'd have rings and different things. You were raising money for the Vincent de Paul, it used to be back then, like, you know what I mean? They were great
Just love
weekends. Yeah.
Where were the circus set up then? Where were they?
Down in the field now, if you pass down by Lyons now and into your left, their house is built there now, but they weren't at the time. And in them fields in there, just be down there, yeah.
Just come for one night only and head off then?
Yeah, they might be there for 2 or 3 nights now, especially if a weekend, you know. Yeah. God, that was many moons ago.
Yeah.
You know.
And can you remember any other old characters before we finish? Just I used to be around way back that spring to mind.
Yeah, well, before we used to come around here and he'd sing now and again, he used to tell us he'd have a yearly wash, was the Pecker Dun. Do you remember him, Andy?
No, I don't.
Yeah, do you remember the Pecker Dun?
But I never
Yeah,
met
she was a grand old singer, but he used to say below in Lyons is when he'd come now, he's kind of have another 2 months to go now to me yearly wash.
Yeah.
And I'd say that was true. Because you wouldn't sit near him now, I tell you know what I mean? Yeah, little things like that. And then
Great character, wasn't he?
yeah, absolutely. And to get back to the school now, remember one particular girl now, Teresa, used to wear her miniskirts going to the school. And one particular day below, Miss Corn, you might identify as this, Anne, pinned paper onto Teresa's skirt because it was too short. Yeah. So we were all terrified then. We weren't rolling them up after that. Yeah.
Should continue
know.
it so because I wasn't.
And there was a great man now used to come up from Calaspia, and now you know him better than I, Ned Haberlin.
Oh, Ned.
And he was great old storyteller altogether. He was brilliant. He used actually, even when we used to come over to Lyons' pub after the U Club on a Friday night, the leaders. And Ned would be there telling old yarns.
That's
God,
right.
he used to have us in stitches.
Yeah,
He was a
he's
brilliant
a
man.
yeah.
Poor man passed away since, like, you know. He was down from near where Anne was from.
John Calaspy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know.
And do any of you remember going down to the pub down Banglaw?
Yeah, my brother lived right beside it. Yeah,
That was an experience.
yeah.
I went when I was a child. My oldest brother had a car, and he brought myself, my mother, his own wife, I think, and his daughter down to the ferry in Ballinlaw. And he had a couple of large bottles, and he decided to go for a swim. And then he had another couple of large bottles, and he drove us all home. But when you think about it now, it was absolutely ludicrous. But back then, church was great.
That's the way it was
I
then,
swam
yeah.
out many out the water swimming after large bottles.
And did you go across in the ferry at all? Or?
No, just he went more for the porter and the swim and brought us along just because he was going. But it was it's a memory, you know. I must have been only, I'd say, 9 or 10.
Once a year we
They hadn't the spirit license down there. They just had the beer license. You know what I mean? But they'd always have their own bottle of whiskey under the counter. But they'd be careful who would be around it.
And who'd get
it, like, you know what I mean? My brother lived down there right beside it, actually, for nearly 40 years. Bill and Mary, yeah. They sold and they went into town, but Bill has passed away since, like. But yeah, they lived down there.
Oh, would you remember the ferry going across?
Oh God, yeah, yeah. You go across over there then at Camp Isle there, you know, it was lovely. It was beautiful.
Did you ever
and
go
even
on
that? No, I never went on that now. No, never. But there'd be the fishermen down there now, and Paddy Diddle and them all long ago. And they'd bring you across in the little rowing boats, you know, that they go out fishing in and that. You know, and you might bring a little picnic or a sandwich and a drink with you across the way, yeah. I used to spend most of my summers down there, actually. Yeah.
So you're really an extra woman?
Not really, no.
I don't know.
No.
You were saying about there was a session of them.
Yeah, but once a year we go down, Paul Grant to organise it, and making the whole gang of us would join up and go down for a session down there. And like that, full of beer and drive home, not a bother. Think of it.
You wouldn't do it now or even think about doing it. No.
No, it's a different ballgame.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, it sure
And I remember
is.
I heard you talking about the health and safety of the youth club.
Oh, yeah.
Just how different that is now as well, the whole thing.
But we always abided by the rules now. Like we were told when we were doing our courses, like, you know, when they come in with mobile phones, and we always had a box that they put their phones, turn off their phones and put them, that they were never allowed to even have their phones during club
the only
hours.
rule they didn't really like, sure they
No, they
didn't.
didn't like that.
They
But
always
never mind,
adhere
they
to
just
it.
done it then.
But they
like,
did it,
They
yeah.
always adhere to it. And no matter where we brought them, they never got us into any bother or got themselves into any
We
bother.
were always highly commended for their behaviour,
for their
actually.
behaviour,
Yeah.
Well, you could bring them anywhere.
We won Club of the Year on a good few occasions, and, you know, mini tops on loads of occasions. I would love you to see all the trophies, but unfortunately
We can't access
we
them
can't
right now.
access the hall at the minute, so, you know.
But what we used to say to them was when we're getting off the bus,
I like the way you're laughing at that.
this will be edited. We used to say to them when I was chairperson for in the beginning, and we'd be getting off the bus, and we'd say, "This is for the village now, and bring home the silverware." And we would bring home something, you know, but we'd always tell them that it was sports or whatever. We're just doing it to compete, and we don't have to win, but we do really. But you know, it was for the village.
Just enjoy yourselves.
Enjoy themselves, but it's for the village, and don't let the
never
village down, sort of thing. And they never did. They didn't ever want to either. But you know, that was part of our. You know, I mean, count them getting off the bus and count them getting back on in again. And because if you said, "Are you there, Mary?" she'd say, "Yeah," and then you say, "Are you there, Susie?" and Mary would say, "Yeah," again. So you wouldn't know who'd be there.
Yeah,
but we
do
just
the head
count them
count,
and
yeah.
count them back on again. Yeah.
But there is a great sense of community here, isn't it?
Well,
In the village, or in Slieverue.
there is, yeah. There is, and there was a great sense, and there still is, I suppose, to a certain extent. But it's, I suppose, as you get older too, new people come on board, and it kind of, there's a different feeling around because you don't know some of the people now. So that maybe that kind of changes things for us, you know. But Katie has a great chance now being in the playgroup because she's meeting all the new parents as well, aren't you, Katie? Do you know, with the young people coming on, the children coming on. But it's, I was just saying yesterday, it'd be hard to get into a new area at my age, we'll say, because you haven't got that connection with your children going to a school. You meet a parent, or, you know, and then, like Katie said, she met Breda Kennedy.
And
You know, chat to them going in, and you go into parent-teacher meetings. So it's all about young people when you're trying to get into a community and trying to give back to a community.
And then also, I mean, families are much smaller now.
They are, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
they are, yeah.
Katie's two girls now sing. They're great singers, and their cousins sing with them as well. Kathy and Tressa and Cliona Gann. They're brilliant.
Yeah, and they were all in our club, and
Yeah.
They won more trophies.
oh, look,
Yeah.
this is just brilliant now. Brilliant.
Well, listen, lads, thanks very much.
thank you
that's
very
great.
much.
Great getting insight, and for myself and Keith, we always find it a privilege
Yeah.
to kind of come in and
Yeah.
just get a little glimpse of the stuff that you were
Yes,
doing.
yeah.
Now Mick Bork said if you want any photographs that he can email them to you.